Heavenly Father, be with us tonight as we do the business for the people of the town of Benson and for our people that are here to plan those things that will come about. And lead us and guide us in the direction that you'd have us to go. And that we do the things that's pleasing in your sight, but also pleasing in the sight of the people in town. And be with us, guide us, and direct us. In God's name we pray. Amen. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You be seated. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I made a motion.
All in favor say aye.
Jerry,
Mayor, you got to add that proclamation.
Oh, I will.
okay.
All opposed say no. On the consent agenda, we want to add one item, which is the proclamation for Poppy Week, Poppy Month. Wanda Moore is going to come forward, and I'm going to read the proclamation to everybody. The rest of you can come if you want to. Come up here. Proclamation 171/2023, Poppy Month. Whereas America is the land of the freedom, preserved and protected, willingly and free of citizen soldiers, and whereas millions who have answered the call to arms have died on the fields of battle, and whereas a nation at peace must be reminded of the price of war and the debt owed to those who have died in war, and whereas the red poppy has been designated as a symbol of sacrifice of lives in all wars, and whereas the American Legion Auxiliary has pledged to remind America annually of this debt through the distribution of the memorial poppy, and now therefore be it resolved that I, Jerry M. Medlin, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Poppy Month, and ask all citizens to pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing a memorial poppy. Adopted this 9th day of May 2023, Jerry M. Medlin, Mayor, Angie Thornton, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And
We're going to let them give out
copies as we
to the
go.
board.
And what we'd like to introduce to you is this is our Little Miss Poppy for 2023-2024. This is our Little Miss Poppy for 2022-23. And so Little Miss Poppy wants to give the mayor the first poppy that we are giving out this year. So, and there's Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. And now, Willow and Lily are gonna give our commissioners a poppy, and then as we go out, we will give all of you. We at the American Legion Auxiliary, while they're giving out the poppies, so we're not gonna go down one side and the other. And as they're handing out poppies, I do wanna tell you, my name is Wanda Moore with the American Legion Auxiliary in Benson, 109. And with me tonight is our president, Miss Betty Jo Young, and also Teresa Wheeler is also, we're very proud. And we have another member here on May. And so, and it's her husband Zach. So we are carrying on the tradition. So if you will, after you give all these out, then start up and down the aisles, giving out the poppies. and I'll say a few words because I promised the mayor. And if I don't do right, you won't ever see me again here. So I told him I'll be in and out of here, but this is huge. This is a small red flower, that crepe paper, that's made by disabled veterans. We pay them a nominal sum to make them for us, and then we collect donations on their behalf, and we use them for our disabled veterans in our area. And so we do big work with it. And I want to thank you here, the ones that are here from Benson, because I do it in some other places, and honey, the Benson folks are the best. They support this. We're gonna have ladies walking up and down the streets this coming week, so you'll see us out there with our poppies, passing them out to people on the street and businesses and whatever. It's a huge thing. America should never forget those men and women that willingly went in, when most of them didn't know whether they'd come back or not, to fight for the ones behind them. It was for the ones behind them that they were fighting for. And so God bless them, and we need to honor and remember them. And thank you all for your attention. Did I do all right, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Margaret.
All
You
right.
did. Who's gonna represent the police department? All of you can come. Proclamation 169/2023, National Police Week, May the 14th through the 20th, 2023. Whereas National Police Week is observed every May to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our community and safeguarding our democracy. And whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Benson Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,785 law enforcement officers in the United States that has made the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives in the line of duty. And whereas the name of these dedicated public service are engraved on the wall of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. And whereas 556 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial this spring, including 224 officers killed in 2022 and 332 officers killed in previous years. But those stories of sacrifice have been lost to history until now. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund 35th Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2023. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of National Police Week, which will be observed this year, May the 14th through the 20th. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags shall be flown at half-staff. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jerry M. Mevin, Mayor of the town of Benson, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim May the 14th through the 20th, 2023 as National Police Week in the town of Benson, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and all communities across the nation. Adopted this 9th day of May, 2023. Congratulations, and thank you for all that you do for our community.
I'd just like to say that we appreciate the recognition, but the true heroes are the ones that gave their lives for others. And if you ever get a chance to see the law enforcement law enforcement memorial in Washington. I encourage you to go. It's very moving, and it's all inspiring. Thank you.
Now we've got National Public Works Week. Who is coming to receive this?
You have Brian Levitt and Anthony Ellis.
They brought the #1 team.
Number 2 business.
Proclamation 170, 2023. National Public Works Week, May 21 through 27, 2023. Connecting the world through public works. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resolute communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the town of Benson. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of the government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essentially for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the town of Benson to gain knowledge of and to maintain an outgoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association with Canadian Public Works Association. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jerry M. Benson, Mayor, do hereby designate the week of May 21st through the 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contribution they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Adopted this 9th day of May, 2023. Congratulations. Thanks for the hard job that you guys do. Most of the time you don't get paid. Thank you so much. Speak.
Speak.
Just want to thank everyone for the continued support. We've done a lot of work the past few years, and we got a lot more to go. Again, thank you for all the support and decisions, and the mayor for keeping us on track and chasing down some funding for it.
Thank you so much, guys. Kim, introduce your new.
We need to approve the agenda and the consent agenda. No one made a motion to approve the agenda or the consent agenda.
McLean made a motion to approve.
We did both of them.
McLean.
But not the consent.
The
Yeah, we
consent
didn't-
needs to be voted on.
We didn't vote.
All right, I entertain a motion to approve the
Yep.
consent agenda.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right.
Come on, Miss Tanisha.
So it is my pleasure to introduce you our new employee in the Customer Service Department in Finance. This is Miss Tanisha Samuels. She comes to us with many years of experience in utility customer service. She was in Clayton for a good little bit of time, so she knows the electric world, and then she was also at the city of Cary for a little bit. So we are excited. She started on the 24th, and she's doing great. She's already kind of got in there. She knows the system pretty well already. It's been a joy working with her. So, welcome, Tanisha.
Hello, everyone, and I am excited to be with the town of Benson because I am from Clayton, so not a stranger to Johnson County, but I look forward to working with the town of Benson.
Glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Individuals wishing to address the board are asked to provide their name and address for the record. Come forward if anybody has to speak to the board. Individuals wishing to address the board are asked to provide their name and address for the record. Come forward. While no one's coming forward, we move on to the next thing on the agenda, which is public hearing RZ 2023-03. Come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's good to see you all this evening. I will present to you the staff report and presentation for this rezoning request this evening. Just to start off, this is a legislative hearing, and so anyone wishing to address the board either in opposition or in favor of the request, they will not need to be sworn in. They will just need to state their name and address for the record. Okay, so this evening we have a rezoning request for an 8-acre tract within the extraterritorial jurisdiction located at NC 50 North and Tar Heel Road. The tract of land is currently vacant. It's owned by DCC Properties, and it is currently zoned residential agriculture, and the applicant petitioner would like to rezone the parcel to B2 neighborhood business. As stated, currently it is zoned residential agriculture. You see the current zoning map, everything in green is residential agriculture. It does border with Johnson County's jurisdiction, so right across Tar Heel Road is Johnson County's jurisdiction that you see in the pink there, and that zoning district is similar to ours. It's agriculture residential, which is predominantly single family, low density, agricultural uses, farmland. In the area, the immediate uses are residential and agriculture. Our future land use map has identified this area as most suitable for residential single-family development, low-density development. And so the request would be inconsistent with our future land use map. The applicant met with the adjacent property owners on March 22nd because it is inconsistent with the future land use map and our adopted plans and policies. So we do require them to speak with the adjacent property owners about the request. Now, keep in mind, this is a general rezoning, so we're not looking at any one particular use in that zoning district. We're looking at all of the uses that could potentially be developed there. And so some of the uses that are within that district include park, open area, neighborhood retail, office, restaurant. Neighborhood business, neighborhood commercial is intended to serve the immediate residential area. It's well suited for small scale commercial uses, convenient shopping and services, low traffic demands, low demand on infrastructure is what you ideally see in that district. The planning board did review this at their meeting last week. There was a motion to recommend denial because it is inconsistent. There was a tie vote, 3-3, so the motion did not pass. A recommendation for denial. I have reviewed it, and in my analysis, I do recommend that it be approved, even though it is inconsistent with the adopted plans and policies. As you can see, it's in a growing area. We have several subdivisions that have located on Tar Hill Road, NC 50 North, Pleasant Church Hill Road, Denning Road, and Tar Hill Road is a growing thoroughway through the town of Benson, in and out of Benson. So it's seeing a lot of increased traffic. And so you can see in the screen there, it's highlighted in red is where the applicant wishes to rezone. So it does have that potential to have be visible to that traffic that's coming through there to support the increasing residential neighborhoods. And so although it would be inconsistent from residential, I do believe that neighborhood business, commercial could be supported there. The utilities would be serviced by Johnston County. So we do have approval criteria that we look at, that's in our ordinance: consistency with the adopted plans and policies, suitability for the subject property, the capacity of adequate public facilities and services, whether the proposed change tends to improve the balance of uses or meets a specific demand in the town. Our future land use map does identify it as low residential, but in our comprehensive land use plan, we do have a goal that we would like to increase quality economic development by attracting and retaining businesses. Also in our comprehensive land use plan, it seeks to rezone properties appropriately to support commercial operations. And so I do believe this would be a good location for that. That is all I have, unless you all have any questions for me.
Does anybody on the board have questions now?
What do you want to put there? There's a B2.
B2, so I believe in the applicant's packet, he's identified as self-storage facility. But keep in mind, just like I stated, you don't want to focus too much on one particular use. You want to look at all of the uses and the suitability of that parcel to be utilized as a commercial B2 neighborhood business district.
Okay.
Aaron, did I not see something though on this as far as a berm, 30 foot and they're asking for 50?
That was from the neighborhood meeting.
Yeah.
And so they talked about more site-specific development. And so if it is successful and successfully rezoned, the next stage would be site development. And depending on what that use would be on that site, then you would have buffering, you would have district boundary buffers. If it is B2, adjacent to residential agriculture, the district boundary buffer would be a Class B buffer. However, when you also look at a specific use, let's just say self-storage, that requires a Class C buffer when it is adjacent to residential uses or zoning district. So there's some buffering that's required. The developer could go above and beyond what the requirements are for the town. But at this point, that's not being considered. That's only when it comes to site plan development.
But if it came down to that, is standard 30, and they're requesting if it went to it to go to 50 for a 50-foot buffer?
So we could not make the developer do what's outside of what's required at the minimum.
Yeah.
They can go above and beyond. And so the minimum would be either a Class B buffer, just as a district boundary because you are adjacent to residential agriculture. If it's developed, a restaurant, self-storage facility, I believe gas station with convenience, those specific uses have standards set in place. So then instead of a Class B buffer, it would be a Class C buffer, which requires screening a wall, evergreen hedge. You can build up a berm. And so there are some screening and buffering requirements just because of what the use that could potentially be developed there. But we would
Okay.
get into that later if it is rezoned.
Okay. Well, I rode out there and it's empty land. I didn't think it was I didn't think it was, really in anybody's, would be in anybody's way, whatever it was zoned to.
Right. And that's what I looked at as
That's
well.
what you saw too?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we open the public hearing. Ask the ones that are in favor, come forward.
My name's Blake Denning. I'm in favor of it. Mailing address or physical? 597 Hodges Chapel Road, Dunn, North Carolina.
So you're in favor.
Yes, sir.
So you own the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any questions? Aaron described it perfectly, in my opinion. The only issue we had, there was 2 comments at the neighborhood meeting that was brought to my attention. One was the adjacent landowner to the south was requesting a 50-foot buffer rather than a 30. And I agreed that we would do that because it's really not going to hinder what I'm trying to do with the property. And obviously, I want to make sure their property is well maintained as well. So we offered that, no problem. The other comment that was brought up in the neighborhood meeting was a traffic circle, and I'm no DOT for North Carolina, so I don't have any jurisdiction over that. They were the only 2 things that was brought up in the neighborhood meeting. Trash was brought up, but again, I mean, the buffer around it should catch trash, and that's part of my maintenance program. I'll be taking care of that. So I don't foresee that being an issue for any of our neighbors. And I know y'all have to look at it as a global view of anything it can be, but our intention is to be self-storage, so it'll be a fenced-in property, and the buffer with the fenced-in property will allow it to be maintained where no trash gets to our neighbors.
Does anybody have any questions?
So you would be doing this for yourself?
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here that's in favor? Anyone else in the room that's in favor? Okay. Anyone in the room that is opposed? Is anyone in the room that is opposed? I close the public hearing. Now the deliberation of the board. Does the board have any questions?
Commissioner Raines asked a question. This is not a situation where you automatically have to grant approval as you would in a quasi-judicial hearing where the party requesting a approval makes a prima facie case by presenting evidence, and there's no opposition to it. There is no opposition here tonight. That is true, but it is not the situation where we've got into before in a quasi-judicial action where there's been evidence presented. This is legislative action, like Aaron was explaining earlier. So you can base this pretty much on anything that you think germane to whether or not this should be rezoned.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Next one, SUP 2023-02. Aaron?
Thank you. Okay, so this proceeding is a quasi-judicial special use permit. The applicant has applied to allow the placement of a manufactured home located at 424F Massengill Farm Road within our extraterritorial jurisdiction. Richard McEachin is the property owner and the applicant. Currently, the lot is vacant. There was a manufactured home on that lot several years ago, and it was removed, and they would like to place another manufactured home there. The site is uses in the area and the zoning, residential agriculture. The uses in the surrounding area are residential, some agriculture. You do have several other manufactured homes in that area. The planning board did review this. They did approve the site plan as per the development ordinance, contingent upon the approval of the special use permit this evening. This is evidentiary, as Ike was speaking to, so we do have findings of facts. No special use permit shall be approved unless the following findings are made: that the application will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed, that the application meets all required specifications and conforms to the standards and practices of sound land use planning, that the application will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property and will not be detrimental to the use or development of adjacent properties, and that the application will not adversely affect the adopted plans and policies of the town or violate the character of existing standards for development. And so anyone wishing to speak this evening would need to be sworn in and to give testimony and present evidence based on those findings of fact this evening. Upon my analysis, I did recommend approval.
Why don't we swear you in now?
Okay.
Give a brief overview of the
Sure.
matter, but since you're going to offer testimony, they're going to consider as evidence, and then probably want to make a motion to put your board packet into the record.
Raise your right hand and put your left hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and then just state your name and address for the record.
Aaron Joseph, 303 East Church Street,
Does
Benson.
anyone else have questions with Aaron?
I would like to submit the application packet into the record.
Okay.
If I can.
I'll entertain a motion to accept it into the record.
I made a motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay.
Yes, so I do recommend approval. As I stated, the planning board did approve the site plan, contingent upon the approval of the special use permit, and with the conditions that the manufactured home be set up in accordance with the town of Benson's regulation, all local, state, and federal laws and regulation. And so we did recommend approval on that.
Any questions of Aaron?
Well, that would be caught during the inspection process, correct?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
We'll open this public hearing. All in favor, come forward. Anyone in favor, come forward. State your name and address and be sworn.
Richard McEachin, 204 East Kennedy Circle, Benson.
Raise your right hand and put your left hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You have any questions for me? I'm sorry, but yeah, we made sure all of our requirements and that was made as Miss Lady spoke on. And
So that's gonna be home.
it's gonna be in my home. Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions?
You do realize that the new bridge coming over 95 is dropping out right there on Cub Road, and you're gonna have more traffic than you've ever seen. Are you sure you want to put a pre-manufactured home where you talking about?
Yeah, well,
I know it used to have one, and that's what's there. I just want everybody to be aware of you knowing what's coming off that road soon.
yes, sir, I'm aware of that, kind of preparing for it. And once we get set up and everything go well, we'll see how it goes. It'll determine if I should have to relocate or anything like that. But kind of not happy with it because I grew up in the area as a child, so I'm pretty much familiar with the area already. And just have to wait and see what happens.
Any other questions?
Good deal.
Mr. McKitchen, I think you sort of said this when you first got up there, but since you're familiar with the property and you've owned it, it's your testimony that the 4 requirements that Ms. Joseph went through earlier, that you testify as property owner that this would satisfy, your application would satisfy the UDO requirements that she read out. Is that right?
That's right.
Just clarifying your statement, because there's got to be a record on this type of hearing.
Right. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anyone else that's in favor, come forward. Anyone that's opposed, come forward. Anyone that's opposed, come forward. Close public hearing.
So unlike the last one, this is quasi-judicial, and as Commissioner Rayner brought up, he's testified that it satisfies those 4 requirements. There's evidence, I think, sufficient that you've heard testimony from your planning director regarding that there's a prima facie case that this application satisfies your requirements. There's case law in this state that then would require the board to approve it. However, it's still something you can consider, and based on what evidence you've heard tonight, because again, this is not legislative, this is quasi-judicial, so you have to base your determination on competent, relevant evidence submitted at this hearing tonight. But there being no opposition, then there's really no evidence to deny it. I would still advise you go through each requirement and then approve it as a whole. I think they're up there.
I would approve it if I could read that.
It's on page 3 of 3.
What's wrong with that TV right there?
We need to replace it. It's got like a short in it.
We would surely appreciate it on this side.
Yeah, I have them on there. I can read them off if you all like as well.
Yeah, or just, you can take requirement number 1, make the motion that's met.
I can't do just all 4 of them at one time.
You can. It's better practice generally to, approve each one of them.
To approve each one, to be
So-
clear for the record.
There not being any opposition, I'm
The
frankly
board
very
is
much glad
under
you're gonna be challenged.
deliberation. Anybody wants to say anything?
So we need to do the finding of facts first.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve all 4 finding of facts have been met.
You gotta throw those numbers out.
1, 2, 3,
He
4.
said all 4. That's satisfactory.
Would you like me to read them, Aaron?
No, it's.
No, if you,
He's made a motion.
and then you can,
And then
that
you can-
motion, then you can make
The Board
a,
of Commissioners find that the findings of fact have been met and approved, SUP 2023-02, to allow the placement of a manufactured home with the condition that all local, state, and federal regulations are adhered to.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
thank
Ayes
you.
have it.
Thank you.
Except for when you do all 4 at one time.
It can be. But then it can be.
All right. Miles Galloway.
So at the beginning of the fiscal year, we came to you guys with a task order to have the Wooten Company go back and see how and we could bring the septic hauling back into the wastewater treatment plant to help generate some revenue. So Miles is going to present that study to y'all tonight.
Yes, Thank you, Manager, and thank you, Mayor, for having us, and Commissioners. So, as I understand, you did have a copy of the feasibility study, and the evaluation was in your board packet. And just want to quickly go through kind of the findings of this. Ultimately, what this original task order was for was to look at the, again, feasibility to receive septage waste at the wastewater treatment plant. There was caution in this and in evaluating it, that there has been several plants that we have been involved with that just quite frankly cannot take septage just due to the high concentrations of the liquid that's coming in. However, going through the evaluation, we did look at several representative samples that we have taken throughout some of our client base, and we kind of used an average as well as kind of a higher peak to make sure that we could get this septage introduced into the process and to be able to treat it to a, to treat it to where it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to shock load the plant. It's not going to be an issue when it comes to any compliance issues. So that was the good news. One thing that we did want to consider is the different types of septage. So when I say septage, and what I'm recommending that only is brought to the plant is residential septage. There are the porta-john, potty waste. That can be very concentrated stuff, and it can really upset a plant. So if you've got a septage hauler that you want to bring in, I think it just needs to be made very clear that they're not taking the blue water, which would be in that porta-john stuff. So spoke with the manager, we spoke with her team. I think we're all kind of on board as far as that recommendation. If this board decides to move forward with that recommendation of introducing a septage receiving station. Secondly, looking at kind of a revenue generation as a result of introducing a septic station. Typically, from what we've seen from the some of the local area, anywhere from $50 to about $300 per 3,000 or 3,000 gallon truckload can be expected. Based on some of the interest that Mr. Levitz told us, we could probably get around about 10 truckloads per day on average. So, obviously that's going to play back and forth depending on the day and where they're pumping at, but you're going to have septic haulers coming in from all over the area. Again, looking at 10 truckloads per day, and quite coincidentally, that's about as much as that facility can handle at its current state. This is not considering any expansion efforts moving into the future or any future upgrades. But looking at about 10 truckloads per day at about 3,000 gallons, again, looking at 4 days a week being conservative and 50 weeks a year, we use about $200 per load. Again, that's looking at that $50 to $300 range. So if we're looking at $200 per load coming in, you're generating a revenue of about $400,000 per year, just off of receiving septic loads at the plant. From an operational cost, and again, I'm looking more at a full-time equivalent and some maintenance associated with that, conservatively, you're kind of around the $20,000 range. And that includes electrical, includes labor, maintenance, everything associated with the operation of the unit. Again, that's conservative basis. It likely will be less, but want to make sure we include it as part of our operation and maintenance evaluation. So again, $400,000 in revenue, $20,000 of O&M associated. From there, we did look at a estimated opinion probable cost to have this installed. That includes design, that includes permitting, construction administration, construction observation, and again, the labor and installation from the contractor with a 10% contingency, and that total cost comes out to be about $935,000. That is again, conservative with the current bid market. It's very volatile. It's really hard to put a really exact figure on something just based on the way things are going currently. But we do feel very comfortable that that is probably a fair opinion of what costs are for a job of that scale. Again, that's $935,000, and as this body, I'm sure, is aware, in discussing with the manager, the town has been awarded $1 million STAG grant, and that's one thing that we've been discussing could be a potential use for that grant. Again, that's not a loan, that would be just the grant. But at this time, this study was the result of the task order to do the evaluation, and at this stage, if the town wants to proceed forward, we'll look at amendment to the current task order to do the design and the construction administration and observation work. Looking at a timeline, we'd probably be looking at towards the fourth quarter timeframe for bidding out this project. So you could probably be looking at the earliest February, March of next year, potentially, depending on how quickly the equipment can get ordered, or about this time next year of starting to see some return on that revenue.
So 3 to 4 year payback?
Actually, probably, yeah, 3 years, depending on the volume and the interest from local people.
How does this tie into what we have got, the 22 million that we're fixing to start working with as far as revamping our sewer plant? This is over and above. We would need to tie all of this in at the same time.
No. Currently,
This will work without the other.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So currently, right now, in design, getting ready to go to bid and construction is the replacement of the facility's headworks. That's the very first process of the treatment plant. That is being resized to the future flow that would match an expansion. That is, again, wrapping up design, getting ready to go to bid. This particular project would be situated very close in proximity to that new construction. But it all, from a big picture, holistically, would all kind of tie together. But it's not associated with this 22 million expansion effort.
Well, I said it was over and above. We're getting, say, $1 million grant, so the 935,000 could be used from that grant. It wouldn't touch the 22 million.
Right.
But will all of it just tie in together at some point in time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I
The
mean, we're not
reason
gonna
that
get
you would.
yours built, we come up and say, you're in the way, you gotta move it over.
Yep, no.
Yeah.
This is, big picture-wise, it's been planned out preliminarily to kind of fit in very smoothly with the expansion. And this, the reason a lot of municipalities or agencies that have their own treatment facilities want to go to septic receiving is for the revenue generation. Because there's, a lot of, neighborhood subdivisions that are on septic, and they got to be able to pump that and take it somewhere. And having a
So
plant.
right now, if we approve this, what comes first? This?
So the Headworks project is getting ready to be bid. This would
Okay.
kind of go alongside the Headworks project,
Okay.
This would be right on the heels of
right
that.
on the heels of it.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Headworks was SRF funding, so that is fully funded. Then this is STAG grant money, so this is fully funded as well.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So we said that we did not want the trucks that's doing like the Porta Johns and stuff like
Mhm.
that, correct? How can we tell, do we test to see if somebody's doing that? I mean, like you'll have they pumping septic tanks, all of a sudden they get on a job site, all mixed together. I mean, can we tie that to one truck?
That's a great question, and I think from Mr. Levitt's side of things over at the plant, I think there's going to be a little learning curve, getting to know the players that are coming in.
Right.
And understanding where they're coming from, and kind of make that, we're only taking septic tanks. And him and his guys will be out there observing, one or two trucks coming in. It's not going to shock the plant system up, but at that point, they, kind of get the red mark on them. And he can also do testing from that if necessary, if it needs to be done, if it becomes a little negligent.
Because I can see it happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they'll only
What
be
do
able to
they
come
do
in through the
now?
hours. Huh?
What do they do now?
We don't have any septic hauling coming in. We stopped
I
that.
understand,
Yeah.
but what do they have places that these septic outlets can go to?
Yeah, various plants around the region or
Yeah.
even further.
Yeah.
They'll haul them off. That's,
Brian, do you know where the closest?
Brian's getting calls all the time about it.
I know the county takes, both the Port John and septic. Lillington and Fayetteville are the two other closest ones that take both. A lot of the other smaller facilities such as ours are only taking the septic. They won't take the Port John waste because they find that it overloads their system over time. Lillington just went through that, and Clinton as well realized that they were getting overloaded with the Port of John. So
So-
it's the larger facilities that those businesses have to go to.
But
Any
I
other
reckon-
questions?
But I reckon there is a
Nothing that
way.
we can add to what we're getting to end up taking that at any point in time.
Looking at kind of the preliminary expansion of the plant
Yeah.
proper, that there would be a potentially, from a process perspective, to do a side stream type treatment in the future. And when I say side stream, it's more of a holding kind of tank to let it dilute. You add extra stuff to it, kind of dilution is a solution type thing. But that would have to be evaluated as part of the design of a future plant. But it's not going to change what this particular construction would look like. It's, you know, it takes the flow in or it doesn't.
Right. Okay.
I got another question.
Yes,
If you
sir.
had to test a particular truck that you suspected of it,
Mhm.
how long does it take to get test results back?
It would depend on the parameter that you're looking at, and in this case, it would be looking at your BOD, which you would probably go ahead and allow them to dump it, and you would run that test based on it looking suspect.
Yeah.
It's going to take you about 5 days,
Okay.
but then you would know.
Okay.
I put you on the spot. Would you want to
Yeah.
add anything to that?
The other thing is, we would be issuing an authorization to discharge to receive septic hauling. So we'll stipulate in that authorization what we accept. We can put criteria for what the consequences would be of dumping something other than what we're allowing in front of the facility.
Okay.
As Miles said, it's typically about a week turnaround to get the BOD level and some of the other possible contaminants. Can be longer than that, but all we'd have to do is basically pull their authorization to discharge if we find them violating it. And we can set it up so that the billing system would even allow them to access the equipment.
Good.
There'll be a log.
That's a great point. As part of this system, there would be a key card type access that they would swipe before they hook up to the receiving station. That one thing, that's for your accounting and billing, but also you know who was there at what time and how much they dumped.
Yep.
So that would be a part of it.
So have a log. So tonight, you're not really approving anything tonight. We wanted to kind of give you the study. What will happen is Miles will give us an amendment to our previous task order for them to move forward with the design. So that will probably come to y'all at the next meeting, so.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Police Department Ordinance, Ike Parker.
I'm happy to take this one, but it's also Chief Percy that's really brought a lot of this to my attention first, and then subsequently discussed it with Kim. Several cleanup items that we really kind of needed. in our current chapter 32 police department ordinance. There's some items in here, language that's struck, and some additional language that's in red. The first one's in 3207, which limits the authority of law enforcement officers to make arrests and enforce the town ordinance to be 1 mile of the corporate limits of the town. That's in keeping with Chapter 15A 402 in the Criminal Procedure Act. So that just needs to be corrected because state law says they only have 1 mile and our rule says 2. More to that in a minute, but that's the first revision. In 3208, item B, a lot of this is, I think we all agreed, is unnecessary. This language about the chief of police having autocratic authority to determine who shall not carry sidearms. I'm not saying he doesn't have tremendous amount of authority over the officers that are employed in his department, but.
What's the difference in that 1 mile and 2 mile?
A mile?
No, I know, but it says 1 mile one place, and in the back it says 2 miles.
I'm getting to that. All right, that's in the charter. That's a little bit more complicated issue than being the charter. This is an ordinance. You can change it tonight if you vote to do so.
You can't change that charter.
Can't change that charter quite as easy. That's where I'm getting to. So, in item B, all members of the auxiliary police force shall carry a departmentally approved firearm after each member has completed the required qualification process. So, this language about 6 months requirements, I think that's knocked out, right? I think Greg would agree that's knocked out by that revised provision. That sidearms shall be carried on active duty if they have a concealed weapons permit or otherwise lawfully carried a firearm. I don't think we need to stipulate in our ordinance that they cannot do so when they're not on duty. That might get into even the Second Amendment issues, but it just is unnecessary as a rule. And I don't think we all agreed item 3 in there is necessary. Any misuse or behavior such as that, it's really caught by an administrative action under your personnel policy and their SRO, so you don't really need that in an ordinance. It's also easier to modify that than to be changing ordinances all the time. And then some changes that Chief Percy proposed that he can speak more to about the minimum requirements of auxiliary officers. So again, just a lot of cleanup. Let me say one thing briefly because we've just basically danced all around it anyway. Further down, you've got some language in here that Chief Percy's provided about that territorial boundary set forth in Chapter 15A 402. The charter says 2 miles, and the law changed after our charter was enacted by the General Assembly. To get our charter changed, we'd have to go back and get a local bill approved by the General Assembly, even for something relatively minor or something that really would just be an update to conform with current state law, state statute. What I would propose you consider is amending your ordinance consistent with or as provided in the proposal. The jurisdiction would be by ordinance 1 mile, which is consistent with state law, which of course we'd have to follow anyway. If you wish to later on clean up your charter, maybe we can bring that back before you as a process, which will take a minimum of 3 meetings probably after the budget, maybe later in the summer. Not saying it doesn't need to be done, but there is also a statute, 160A-3, subsection C. It's when a power, duty, function, privilege, or immunity is conferred upon a city by a general law and the charter enacted earlier than the general law omits or expressly denies or limits the same power, duty, function, or privilege or immunity. The general law shall supersede the charter. And what that just fancy lawyer legalese way of saying is that if we have a regulation, rule, or anything even in our charter, and then the state law changes and that provision in the charter is no longer legal or applicable or whatever the case may be, our failure to get a local bill to revise the charter doesn't put us in some kind of legal jeopardy or limbo as far as enforcing the actual correct legal statutorily legal regulation, which in the case of the jurisdiction is 1 mile. So I think the cleanups are necessary in the ordinance. That you can do. We can bring back the charter amendment. Just briefly, you'd have to have a public hearing. Well, you'd have to first pass a resolution of intent to amend the charter. I'm sorry, that's if you did the other process. You'd have to go back and get a local bill through the General Assembly. So that's something we can contact local representatives about. But again, I don't like the fact that you go pull up your charter and it's not correct. But
Well, there's other stuff that's not correct.
well, and that's the case, and I think in light of that fact, there's that statute that sort of saves every municipality in the state, because the General Assembly is going to periodically change laws that affect municipalities, and most municipalities aren't going to be going back up to Raleigh to ask for charter amendments in local bills every year, every 5 years, or something like that. So Greg can speak more to the specifics of it. I agree completely with the amendments that he's proposing in the ordinance.
Yeah, and I'll be real brief. I started looking at this ordinance several months ago, primarily because we need more auxiliary officers to help us supplement for the vacancies that we currently have. You can call in somebody to work that has a full-time job somewhere else easier than you can sometimes hire somebody. But I found that we were capped out at our maximum level, so I was looking to expand the number that we're allowed. And when I started looking at the ordinance itself, I saw that it was originally, I think, passed in 1966 and updated in 1990. So it's way overdue to be brought up to current standards. And a lot of the stuff that I recommended striking out is from that earlier version. What I'm proposing, or what I'm asking for tonight, is to increase our number from 6 to 10 members of the auxiliary force, and to change the duty requirement from 16 hours a month to 8 hours a month. It's probably going to be kind of difficult to attract somebody that's got to work 16 hours every month. And we don't really need them that much. Right now we need them more as fill-in type roles. So 8 hours will be plenty. They should be able to meet that with no trouble at all. And like Ike was saying, it makes reference to issuing revolvers and stuff. So it's time to update it.
So those are the only items you want to change?
Well, that and the extraterritorial jurisdiction, because the ordinance and the charter is in direct violation of state law. So that's got to be cleaned up at some point.
I'll entertain a motion to approve what?
I got one more question.
Okay.
It says like law enforcement officers of cities may arrest persons at any point which is 1 mile or less from the nearest point in the boundary of such city.
Mm-hmm.
So that's annexed places too?
Historically, no, satellite annexations don't count. It's got to be the
It does not.
contiguous. Yes.
No, and that's in the statute.
Well, let me ask you this. I think where I live at is probably 1 mile, over 1 mile, so that Benson could not arrest nobody in.
They could inside the
Inside the
annexed area,
subdivision,
they
yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'm saying, because it says
What
within
you
1
can't do is
mile.
start leapfrogging out and say, well, we've got this annexed out, 2 miles out here, and
Right.
then we're within a mile of that, so we can enforce anything. You can't go and sort of.
Well, that's
create these-
considered a boundary, correct? Then he could go 1 mile past that
It's
or
your
less.
satellite.
Oh, yeah, not of the satellite.
Satellite.
It's,
Well,
yeah, the
Well,
satellite
That's where
annexation.
it's not continuous, so
Yeah.
there's a break between the city and
Okay.
where you guys are.
They can definitely, can and have to enforce the laws of the
In-
town and in
In
your annexed area,
Okay.
but they can't go a mile
I
beyond.
didn't know if they could do that because it says the boundary, so that would be considered.
No, and that chapter 50A actually specifies that,
Okay.
so.
Well, check,
I don't wanna put too many things in here, and then just have you doing this in another 5 or 8 years or whatever, another board, when they change the law again. Frankly, the rule that they adhere to is in the Criminal Procedure Act, chapter 15A, so that's your legal touchstone to always go by, as it's amended by the General Assembly. If the General Assembly amends it, makes it half a mile or back out to 2, that's your rule.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
All right, will you read what you want into the motion?
You were really.
Or are you gonna change everything that's read?
Yeah.
Change
Everything that's in
The
red.
dashed out, struck through will be removed and substituted for the red line language.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Right. Thank you.
All right, Kim.
Ready? So, I'm bringing forward to you all another task order for the Wooten Company. This is for the modeling of Hannah Creek. We've all discussed this with the expansion of the plant. We have to have another discharge location, so this is going to be modeling Hannah Creek upstream, downstream of our current location. Now, I do want to make a note that the total you've got 2 phases in this to total it would cost $305,000. This is going to be on the county's consent agenda on May the 15th for them to actually pay for this study. So what will happen is we'll pay it and then we'll send the county an invoice monthly for reimbursement. So what I would like for the board to do tonight is to approve it based off of the county approval on the 15th. And then once they have clarification from Chandra at the county that it's been approved, I'll sign the task order and send it in to Miles. But I asked Miles to stay in case y'all had any questions about what the modeling entails and what they're looking for.
There's still that one question. Who carries the wastewater from the sewer plant? Does it go down the county's pipe?
Currently, from
Yeah,
where?
currently.
From our plant to News?
Yep.
It's our pipe, right? Yeah, it's our pipe. From Four Oaks to us is the county's pipe.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve pending the outcome of the May 15th meeting that it gets approved.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it.
There really shouldn't be any other reason, though, that they wouldn't approve this.
No, there shouldn't be. It just has to be approved.
Yes, I'd hold a gun to it.
Hmm.
Consider approval of acceptance of $500,000 elevated storage tank.
So, sometime back, we applied for a grant with the county for them to pay for the elevated storage tank that we know we're going to need. The grant was for $2.5 million. They've awarded us $500,000. That's basically what they did with everybody that submitted a grant. Was they kind of capped it at $500,000. There was a few that got more than us, but so we just need to approve the acceptance of the grant and sign this contract with the county.
Tell it the way it is. She asked for $2.5 million, they got $500,000.
Yeah, yeah.
He was gonna give everybody $500,000, so.
I make a motion, we approve.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, Kim.
All right, I'll stand up for
Big
this.
deal.
All right. So I bring you a balanced budget proposal. However, I do not have the salary study numbers back, so it will change. So the 25th, they're supposed to present y'all with the salary study. I'm hoping that I'll have the numbers by the end of this week, and then I can start working towards amending whatever we need to amend. to see if we can make those numbers work for y'all, and then I'll re-present on the 25th. But I wanted to go ahead and kind of give you guys a generalized overview of what we're looking at for the 2023-24 budget year. So the proposed budget to end June 30th, 24 is a total of $15,771,272. In the 22-23, the town collected approximately $1,827,869 in property tax. Johnston County performed a 7-year real property revaluation in 2018. Town administration and staff are recommending the increase the tax rate from 55 to 59 per 100 for the upcoming year. Now, if y'all recall, last year we asked for a 3-cent tax rate increase. We didn't get it. We balanced with fund balance, but we all agreed we can't do that again this year. Huh?
We've done 2.
We didn't do anything.
No, I'm talking about 2 cent, not 3.
Last year? No, because I redid this today, and I wrote right over what I did last year. It was 58. So instead of 3 cent that we requested last year, we are requesting a 4-cent increase for this year to get us to 59. So that would put us at our tax revenue would be $2,130,201 would what we would get off of that levy. The final budget reflects a municipal rate totaling 59 cents, 47 for general fund and 12 for fire. A volumetric water increase, so just the usage of the water. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, Dunn is going up 14% on our wholesale. Johnston County is going up 6%. 90% of our water comes from Dunn. So right now, we're looking at matching that 14% on the volumetric side of water, but we're not going to do anything with sewer at this time. And then our 4% increase in garbage. So we have a CPI that increases in January. We're asking for 4% in July in order to help have revenues come in so we can clean up the Porter Street facility. So to break down, the general fund total is $5,840,375. So our general government, which would be the board, administration, police, planning, and streets, is $3,888,969. Fire protection's $972,532. The museum, which is completely funded by the Kennedy Trust Fund, is $70,000. The library, which is somewhat funded by the Kennedy Trust Fund, not much, and then the rest by taxes is $166,000. And the Parks and Recreation at $742,874. And of course, that's a combined tax and just parks income. The Water and Sewer Fund totals to $4,290,100, and the Electric Fund is $5,647,97, and that makes a total of the $15,771,272. The only staff increase that we're asking for is a part-time staff member to be split between the library and the museum, and they would work 10 hours a week, so 5 in each. One of the main reasons for this is the museum only has, well, they have Derek, but they have one employee that has knowledge of what's in the museum and the history of Benson. So we really feel like we need somebody that can go in there and help learn the history. So we have somebody else other than Mr. Ralph. And they'll also help Derek with cataloging of items that they've got in that upstairs attic of the museum that he's not been able to get to, and get some historical records for us in that department. We have talked about getting firemen, 3 new firemen, but there's no way to shake it with the 12 cent that the fire department gets. We have applied for a grant. We hope that we'll get that, but until we know for sure, we cannot add 3 new firemen at this time. So as I stated already, we don't have the salary study back yet. There is some, currently in this budget, there is some breathing room in the salaries. We did a 3% COLA, and then we have some people that are still in their probationary period, so that's built in. if there's any training that that an employee can do, that's kind of built into it. There is some fluff in the salaries to kind of help with whatever we get from the salary study. Down in the general fund, again, the property valuation is $361,051,028 at a tax rate of 59 cents. That yields $2,130,201.07. Also in the general fund, we receive payment in lieu of taxes from the Benson Housing Authority. Again, we proposed a 4% increase in the trash rate. So normal currently trash service is $24.17. We're asking for an increase to $25.14 starting in July. Out of the fire protection fund, their 12-cent yields $972,532 in revenue. Also out of that, they have banner fire districts in Johnston and in Harnett County. Those two yield $400,249. And then additionally, we receive, oh, sorry, that's the total revenue. And then the town's levy is $433,262. Additionally, we receive $15,500 from Johnston County for like first responder pay, and then Harnett County first responder is $21,584, and then fire inspections at $12,000. The annual debt service that we currently have is the fire engine at $36,477, which this is the last year that we pay on that, and then the fire station at $77,166, and the utility at $4,407. The water and sewer fund is proposed at $4,290,100. Again, there's a note in here that Johnston County is going up 6%. The city had done it 14%, so we are asking for a 14% volumetric rate increase in the water. And the debt services that they currently hold are listed here below. You have the Dog Eye annexation. There's an 18 aerial sewer line, water phases 1 and 2, AMI, an old wastewater expansion loan, USDA pump station loan, and then the public works building. And also this large sheet, y'all typically ask about debt service every year, so I tried to get ahead. This is our debt service sheet for all the funds. I made it a little bit bigger for you guys, but it runs out so you can see year to year what we have to pay. You see, like on electric, they only have, after the 23-24, they've only got one more year to pay on that truck. And then you see the fire department engine 4. This is the last year on that. The longest one we have is the pump station project, which we did in 2018, and that runs all the way to 2058. And then finally, the electric fund, that proposed is at $5,647,097 with the estimated sales tax rate that we have to give back to the state every year at 7% at $363,939. And one thing I want to make note in this is the rate committee for electricities will not meet again until September. And that's when we'll discuss if we're going to have a wholesale rate increase. Now, we have talked about having a 3.5% wholesale rate increase that would take effect in April. But there was some balancing of figures in Rider 8 where they had to pay off some debt to Duke, and they estimated it at one amount, and it actually came in over. So I don't know, without really knowing what's going to happen in September at that rate committee meeting, I didn't want to make any assumptions for us yet. So we're looking at April 24. Before that ever happens, when I come back from the rate committee meeting in September, that'll be followed by a board meeting in November. Once all that's approved, I'll come back to the board and make a recommendation if we need to do anything with our electric rates. But right now, it's going to stay as it is. Do I have any questions on that? So, of course, we took a lean approach in the electric department. We are continuing, like I said, to lease the bucket truck at $50,209.44. These annual payments are captured in the capital outline line item. The 23-24 budget addresses the goals and needs of the town approved by the Board of Commissioners on April 12th, 2022, which were infrastructure, public personnel, quality of service, services, and customer service. As we move into the next 12 months, we are going to continue to focus on transportation. We still have the I-95 widening happening. The US 301 roundabout is still on the books for 2024 as of right now. Continuing with our stormwater repairs and our water and sewer infrastructure needs, and of course, our economic development opportunities. So are there any questions?
The 3% increase with the trash pickup, what are we gonna get for that?
The 4%?
4%.
So, what we'll get out of the Porter Street facility, what that 6 months generates extra is about $11,000. And so that will go straight to the Porter Street facility, and then the remainder of it goes into just, it's usually a direct push. So we only really make money off of it that first 6 months. Because it's,
But the $25 that it's gonna go to as far as trash pickup,
it's your 3 cans. And of course, we're looking at putting that back out for bid once the contract is up.
when is the contract up?
We looked at that. Yeah, I think,
It's coming up.
well, it's coming up. It'll probably go back out for bid before the next budget.
I don't know what they're gonna add or what we're gonna add, but, as far as pickups, and I'm sure you're gonna hear more of it this week. You hear it every single day from somebody. Got a trash pile sitting here, and you tell them, well, you've got to put it in a can. Well, we don't have a can. We'll use this can, and we'll pick up one can and then give you another can. That's was told just last week. I don't know what to tell anybody. I have seen too much limbs and stuff even done last week, and I wanted to stop and say, hey, if you don't put it in a can, they're not going to pick it up. But I'm not going to tell them, and I'm not going to go to their house anymore and pick it up.
So we'll, like I said, Mondays we pick up limbs. Has to be in compliance. So Angie is the 4.
It's 4 cubic yards, 4 inches in diameter, no more than 4 foot long and 4 foot high. As long as if they have, Jeremy and the guys at Public Works, if they have multiple piles, they will pick up those piles.
Yeah.
But if they've got one huge pile that's not in compliance, they will get a letter sent that we're not gonna pick that up if it's in compliance. So anybody that calls into customer service, and I've been up there for like the last month, they're told that.
And how many phone calls have you had since you've been up there?
Oh, we get a lot of phone calls about that, but then we also, and people don't know either, that, as far as they need to utilize, because we're having a lot of people call about leaves and stuff. Well, we've explained to them that leaf season is over, and also with them having the knuckle boom, they can't pick up those leaves. So they have been told to put them in their yardways, and we have been giving people the option, if they're not recycling, then we will send a work order or email to GFL for them to switch out their
Recycling for yard
recycle
waste.
part, and they can have 2 yard waste. And we've had a lot of people that are on board with that.
Because essentially they cost the same amount of money.
So
But
we are giving them that option.
one thing we
So
are,
They don't have to recycle.
they
They
don't,
can do the yard waste.
They don't, yeah. if
Yeah,
they're
you don't
not
have to recycle.
utilizing it, we'll switch them out.
Well,
yeah. And which is what we're finding,
happens
a lot
when
of are
they
not.
cut their shrubs back and put it out there, and then throw some limbs on top of it.
So Jeremy, I talked to Jeremy about that after you and I had talked, and he said he's happy to pick up shrubs because he can run them through the tub grinder. As long as he can run it through the grinder, he's happy to do that. But if it's not in compliance, if it has trash in it, anything like that, then he can't pick it up. And one of the things that we're trying to do is follow the ordinance. That's what the ordinance says, right? And if you have to, if it's out of compliance, we'll give you an opportunity to get rid of it yourself or get it in compliance, and then we'll go back out again and get it. Otherwise, if you want us to come and get it, it's $250 per truckload. I haven't had anybody take that yet, but most of them will get it in compliance or get rid of it, and they've been switching the yard waste for recycling. I mean, they're recycling for yard
I
waste.
saw Jeremy out, I think Monday, Park Place, and, he was out, our area too. Don't know what he picked up, but I've been back and forth to Liberty Commons yesterday and today, and there's huge piles on Park Place that's been there for a while. Some of it's logs and limbs, and some of it's leaves and stuff, and
Well, they're not going to get leaves.
I know that. You're gonna have to cost more, but I know that. Okay, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just telling y'all are gonna have a big problem because the same piles are still there. I don't know why they don't get it.
Well, they're getting non-compliant letters, so the next letter, if they've gotten a third non-compliant letter, we're just going to get it, and then we're going to send them a bill.
Okay.
$250. Yep. And I know, but it is a business, right? I mean, we have to really think about it's a service and it's a business. If you keep it in compliant, we can service that and we can do it. But if it's continuously non-compliant, we need to follow our ordinance, which says you pick it up for a fee.
Okay, and the same thing goes for our ordinance that says keep your grass cut.
Mhm.
We're gonna send you a letter, but we've got areas in Benson that we own that we might get a letter.
You are correct.
Okay.
And we're staying on the contractor I mean, you can look at the text messages between me and Jeremy with Mark. I mean, we stay on him.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm happy with what you're doing. Other people though that call me and says, I'm not doing this because look at this.
Yeah.
And I call you and you said, hey, we're on top of this.
Mhm.
But
Like the one you called me about Monday, it was actually done on Saturday, according to Jeremy. They had done it on Saturday, because he checked it that morning, too. Yep.
Before you jump off of the trash issue here, the current contract sunsets December 31st, 2024.
There you go.
So it ends next year. The end of
well, I
next
know Jay's brought it up 100 times. We got to do something. I just don't want to wait till 2024.
No, we've already got, Angie has already reached out to other finance officers, because I've never put garbage out for bid. I mean, I've been in local government for 13 years, and I've never had to put it out for bid. So we've reached out. We've got RFPs from other towns. We have to give them, what, a 90-day notice, so that,
You're about a year out from having to be in the thick of that process.
right.
You'd have to tell them with 3 months before the end of next year if you wanted to cancel, otherwise it re-ups for another 2 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we want to cancel, but we've got to check with everybody else.
I think it's fair to say that we need to put it out for bid just to see what our options are. Absolutely. I mean, the last time we renewed it was 2019, as Mr. Zapp was leaving, and so I think it's time to put it back out for bid, for sure. So you'll see us start getting that stuff together probably around January, getting it out for bid, at least before June, and then figuring out who it's going to be and notifying GFL and whether it's them or not. I mean, we'll start working on that process. I will state one thing, as we continue to pick up sticks and debris, one of the things that is listed in here is for a new knuckle boom truck. Our knuckle boom is past its life cycle, but we have been able to utilize our enterprise contract, and they have been able to find us a knuckle boom, and we can put it on a 7-year lease payment with them. So the lease payment is $36,971 a year. So that's also built into this as well. Because if we continue to do that, we're going to need a new truck. Make sure there's no other. Was there any questions?
Y'all didn't have many questions about the budget?
No, obviously, I'm going to be in my office all week next week. If y'all want to come and have a seat, talk, as soon as I get the salary study numbers, you guys will be the first to know. I don't want to steal their thunder on announcing it to you guys on the 25th, but I will let you know what they look like, and kind of tell you what our process is of trying to build it in. But I will be in the office all next week. If you want to come in and have a seat and talk line item by line item, everything is in here. I mean, it's you've got notes, you've got your debt schedule. These are my worksheets. You don't have these worksheets, but if you want them, I'm happy to send them to you. It's kind of got all my little notes on the side. There's extra tabs on how we configure what the rate's going to be for each of our electric, water, sewer, garbage. All that stuff is calculated within these work spreadsheets as well. So
Well, I think there'll be some choking going on the 4 cent.
I know it's a lot,
You guys love getting
but
prepared for that.
we absolutely cannot balance with our fund balance this year. We can't do it. So if we don't increase it 4 cent, then we got to start really discussing what services we're going to cut out, because we can no longer subsidize what we're doing and being able to afford it. The cost of doing business has gone up exponentially.
I'll come meet with you next week.
All right. All right.
So there were no changes in the cost of benefits? Was there like any changes on that?
Right now, we won't know about health insurance until closer to July, so we did do a small increase on that. As far as our dental and vision and liability, all that is kind of at a stay. It's not going to go anywhere in regards to going up. I think we have another year on that price. So, but all that's built in here too.
Well, our water suppliers are going to hit us pretty hard and increase for next year.
Yeah.
But you didn't do anything on sewer.
Not right now.
That's next year.
No, well, with this septic hauling station, that's going to bring revenue in. So that'll be a good thing.
What was the question, Will?
Or we didn't do anything on
We're
sewer.
not going up on sewer, we're going up on everything except sewer, and I was just wondering, we have to go up on water because of, we're getting done, passing 16 down and
14.
all the other coming in.
The only thing we're going up is garbage and water. Stormwater is going to stay the same. Sewer is staying the same. Electric is going to stay the same. And then obviously the tax rate.
Well, we ought to get some money from the county on the sewer. I hope that's
We're gonna-
part of the conversation.
We're going to bring you guys the sewer contract with the county next meeting, and we are looking at going up on their rate for sewer processing.
I know in the air talking and the mayor's meetings and stuff, sewer has been discussed, and I mean, we're losing money on sewer when we, sell it to the county.
We are.
Yeah, I know it.
We're going to fix that because
Well,
their
I was
contract is out
wondering
June
why
30th.
We didn't have anything in this.
This is, we don't ever talk about the wholesale rate and
Okay.
yeah.
$3.01 a thousand. That's what we get for it.
Right.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
All right, I know you sleep better tonight. All right, the town manager's report, are we there?
Yeah, hold on, let me.
It's cold in here.
Okay. So our first Sundown and Downtown concert starts, or the Chamber's first one starts on Thursday. It'll be the Embers featuring Craig Woolard. The Mayor's Breakfast is on Friday at Benson Baptist Church at 7:30.
Prayer breakfast.
Prayer breakfast. As it was stated in the proclamations, National Police Week is next week. You all should have an invitation to the blessing of the badge ceremony on Tuesday, the 16th, at 5 o'clock at Benson Methodist Church. Pastor Olson's going to do a quick service for them. It's always a really good service that he does. And it'll be followed by a meal with the police officers and their families. And I know they would love for y'all to come. The following week is Public Works Week. So if you're around town that following week, make sure you stop in and say hello to those guys. On May the 18th, we will have a blood drive for the police department. It'll be like it was the last time in the old electric building parking lot from 1 until 6. And I think that's all I have.
Wait, are you giving again this year?
I just gave. So I'm out.
I know.
I can't
Okay,
give blood
well-
because I just gave it.
No, I don't have anything. I think Community Day, I went out. I think that went off great. They gave out hot dogs, and the police department had to go get some more in a hurry. So it looked like everybody had a good time, and I was glad to see the police, fire, and our electrical department out there. Public Works was showing the bucket trucks and stuff, and looked like to me everybody was having a real good time. I don't. I don't have anything else right now.
To tie on to what he just was talking about at the Lee Street, we're going to need soon to get out and figure out how we're going to park cars and provide a place to put them. There's room around the corner, but nobody seems to go around there. But I tell you, there's been some pile of cars out there with these weekend things, which I'm tickled to death to see. That
And
we're getting some benefit.
our contract with our two sisters is really working out good. They are very happy, and they keep adding more and more food. And people, I was watching them, people that had the campers and had the RVs and stuff into the ball game. Now, they were tailgating, but then I saw a lot of food coming over. They did a breakfast special, and people were coming in and getting all kinds of biscuits and stuff and taking them back. So I think that is a plus for Parks and Rec.
And it'll be one for Benson too. You can eat when you go to
that.
Benson.
I've told y'all that's one of the few things that we put out there that actually brings money into Benson. I mean, the fire department costs you money, the police department costs you money. Every department costs us money. Parks and Rec could pay for itself and pay for their help pay for their budget the way it's being built right now.
That's great. Cassandra?
I don't have anything. Other than the ribbon cutting on Saturday was very nice. There was a lot of people at PKV's Park. It was very nice. I got a chance to go in the concession stand, and it is very nice.
Talking about the parking lot out there at the park, we talked about it many times before about redoing the whole thing, asphalt and everything. Have we ever looked at getting an estimate on that, how much it's gonna cost?
Matt, have you ever gotten one?
We've gone through.
Cause it's long overdue.
Parking spots and gone through 1,000 different times trying to figure out where we can put cars.
Yeah.
Actually, because when we were looking at it before, it was the whole issue of drainage and trying to make sure that we could get it drained. And that always seemed to be like the bump in the road when we were looking at like parking lot. So I mean, even when Braston was here, it was always about trying to figure out the drainage for that parking lot because it's a pond.
Oh, yeah.
When it rains heavy out there. So.
Well, I'm talking about too, the asphalt where it starts, curving along where that sidewalk used to be, come by the gym. Well, it's probably grass now, broken up. Huh?
You talking about like where the buildings were behind the gym?
Where the open space is to the right of it,
Yeah.
where we have been parking, they're parking there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just grass parking.
Yeah.
It's not like it's
I reckon what I was saying, give them a little guidance.
I think we need to get an estimate or something to,
We can
see
do that.
where we're at. I don't know.
Definitely get estimate on like asphalt, as far as drainage.
Yeah, it's gotta be drainage, cause I know when I talked about it at Mill Days, you know, with that little rain downpour, I mean, it looked like a pond out there.
Yeah.
And I thought somebody was gonna get electrocuted because them electrical cables going to the equipment was going right through it. So,
No problem. Yeah, I'll get them.
other than that, I ain't got nothing.
Dr. Max,
Well, I too was at the Vias Park on Saturday, and it was wonderful out there. I was impressed how good it looked. I was at a T-ball game out there. And I'm excited about that, and excited about the playground coming.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to jump over you, Mr. Attorney.
Looks like I've got space further down the agenda tonight. I'll hold my remarks till that point, unless there are questions on the open period.
Anything else come before us? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Closed session.
I make that motion, we adjourn.
I now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I make the motion, we go into closed session under NCGS 143-318.11.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Take a break. Everybody else get out.